So how do we co-create value and build supplier trust, or the buyer-supplier trust? How do we do that? Well, we can look at a contribution and outcome matrix. So we have Walmart and Procter & Gamble on this chart. So a contribution that Walmart has is deep insight into the customer needs. Walmart has so many customers that they can look at what Walmart's buying and see what people want. For example, when a lot of the states started having the stay-at-home for this pandemic, some of the things that dropped off in sales was deodorant and razor blades. Well, people aren't shaving and they're at home, so why do they bother smelling good, right? So that's some deep customer insights. But Procter & Gamble, they have deep product innovation. They know how to do that. So each one has their own contribution here. So what is the outcome of this, though? When Walmart has the deep customer insights, they know how to satisfy their customers, and they know the right mix of innovative products because they can look at their customer base and realize that the 20-something wants something new and innovative, where the person who might be a senior citizen just wants what works. They don't want all the flashy stuff. They just want what works. Right there is some deep customer insight. But Procter & Gamble, where they have deep product innovation, they're more effective with their research and development. So they can improve new product success rates. They don't have so many failures because they know how to innovate their products. Like, I'm not sure if it's Procter & Gamble that owns them, but like the razors. Razors used to have 3 blades, but now 5 seems to be the standard. 5 blades on a razor head. And some of them even have a 6th blade for trimming up your hairline. Well, that's pretty innovative. But Procter & Gamble might have some other products that are very similar. And all they do is make a modification, and the product success rate is huge because not all products are successful. But how do you build that value co-creation? Well, it's based on the relationship here. So contracts are a safeguard. It's difficult to write a contract and govern for all possibilities. If you do that, your contract's going to be thicker than a Webster's dictionary. But it doesn't motivate people to collaborate. They're going to look at that contract and say, this is what I need to do. I'm going to do these. That's a contract. But if you use trust, you can have that contract, but that's more of just a guiding document that you might have to refer to every so often because it's a complement to that contract. It does not substitute the contract. You must have the contract. And the key ingredients is creating that value between the buyer and the supplier. If you can't build that trust and that value, you're not going to have much success. So having trust as a governance, so you're using the contract, that's the backup. You need to have that because it's, the lawyers want that. But it's the relationship that's going to actually govern that contract and how things are done under that contract. It's that simple. So if we can do that, we can add value to both sides of the buyer and supplier relationship. But how do we define that trust? Well, we have high trust and limited trust. So we have our relationship compatibility and then our performance to promise capability. So if we have low in both of those, a low relationship capability and a low performance to promise, we're going to have limited trust. So this is going to be more your transactional, you're going to just go buy it off the shelf and pay for it at the price there. Very low interaction. But then you have high trust in both of the high categories here. Both are going to work to create that value. So we want to be in that high trust. That's where our goal is. But not every transaction gets the same attention. Not every requisition gets the same attention. So we need to bring that back and realize that some is going to have limited trust because we really don't need it to have high trust. Because high trust is going to take more time. The limited trust is going to be really quick. But let's look at that relationship commitment capability here. So we need to share information. And we want to share that information because it may affect our supply partner's ability to make good decisions. So we might tell them, hey, we're looking to launch a new product, version 2 of the product that you're making, and we want you guys to make it. Well, now they can look at their manufacturing capability and say, we can make it. What estimate do you think you're going to stop with the version 1? And they say, no, we're going to keep version 1 for 6 months. While version 2 is getting more and more in demand. That's information they need to know because now they can make adjustments to maybe their future plans based on that. And you need to invest in alliance partner skills. This is that you're trying to develop your suppliers. They'll try to develop you as a buyer. So you got to view them as an extension of your own company because they're that much of a partner. And you need to think about how your decisions are going to affect your suppliers. So you got to show that empathy. If for whatever reason you have to completely stop a product, you need to let them know, and they might actually fire staff because they don't need them, because they're not having that income come in to support the labor. So they might fire some people or let them go or furlough them until business picks up again. So you have to understand how your decisions are going to affect your suppliers. And then, of course, you got to develop that interpersonal relationships. So like they said that most decisions are made on the golf course. Well, that's true because you're developing that interpersonal relationship. When you're out golfing, yes, you're going to hit the ball wrong and it's going to go way off in the wrong direction. It's happened to me plenty of times. But getting out there and talking for 4.5 hours or 5 hours, however long it takes them to go play a round of golf, you're spending quality time. You're talking to each other. You're learning about each other. And that makes a huge difference. So develop those interpersonal relationships. So we need to invest in trust, but there's some risks and benefits to that. So as time goes on and experience happens and our relationship intensifies, we go from stage 1, which is limited trust, to stage 2, transactional trust, stage 3, relationship trust, and then finally stage 4, collaborative trust. So how much trust do you need for that specific supplier? For example, you're sourcing office supplies. If I'm ordering from a website and having them deliver it, I don't need any trust from them. They don't need to trust me. They just need to know my credit card number is good, and I need to know that they're going to deliver it. That's about as extent to the trust. So what are the risks and benefits of investing in trust? Well, you can get a lot more benefit if you're at stage 4, the collaborative trust, than you will get at stage 1, the limited trust. But there's some risks at stage 4. Huge risks, because you trust them so much. What happens when something goes wrong? And I mean horribly wrong. You rely on them so much that you might have trusted them with so much of your business to support your business. And now that's potentially a huge impact negatively on your company. And that can be seen in this chart here. So, for example, if I order something from Staples and Staples screws up, well, the risk is very low because I just call and complain to Staples, or I just take my business elsewhere because we're at the stage 1. Now, if we're at stage 4 and the company I'm working with goes bankrupt and no longer is able to help me, that's a huge gap that is now a void, and the risk is so much greater. But when you're working together on specific projects, the risk actually goes down the more trust you have. But you want to be careful. And I'm not saying you need to look at each other suspiciously. Just be careful, because you can rely on them because they are relying on you. So, and over time, that trust is going to mature and you're going to create value from it. So let's look at how value co-creation happens here. So we have a lot more benefits as we move along from stage 1 to stage 4 than we have risks. So for example, stage 1, we're ordering office supplies. There's no benefit and there's really no risk. If they fail to do it, okay. But if there's no benefit too, did they get it to you a day sooner than they promised? Well, that's not such a big deal with office supplies. But they got it to you a day later, okay. That was a risk, but it's not really going to impact me, because hopefully you're not buying copy paper when the copier is out of paper. But as you get further along, the benefits are going to increase and outweigh those risks greatly. So definitely look into that, because you can develop these relationships based on different products, technologies, or business models. And once you do that, your value you're creating together is going to be vary from product to product. And one supplier you might have for one product, but you might have 3 suppliers for another product. So be careful, but also realize that you might have to take on an acceptable risk to reap the benefits. So let's talk about our supply base in the next video, and how do we rationalize our supply base. So let's go ahead and move on and talk about that.